Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's such a great honor to be here with you after the magnificent speeches of the President, of the Foreign Minister, the yoga class, fantastic meditation, but more than anything, to follow the leadership of Iceland in showing the world that having a different way of measuring and pushing for progress is feasible. Because I feel that as we heard from the President and from the Foreign Minister, we need to change course, of course. We need to see how we measure progress. We need to see how people define their own well-being. It's all about people, as you mentioned, Minister. But the fact is that we are not being fast enough as we should around the world. And I think this is the importance of this conversation, because there might be countries like Iceland that are leading the way, like Scotland, like New Zealand, like Finland, like the countries that were mentioned in the morning. But the reality is that the world economy, the society, the way we are moving forward or backward, are just not implementing it at the pace that is required to deliver on the SDGs. So I feel that this is a very important conversation for that very specific purpose. And let me just say that I am the Assistant Director General for Social and Human Sciences. You maybe know UNESCO more because of culture and education, and I think those are core issues for well-being. But science and evidence-based policy, evidence-based decision-making is also as important. And my sector is really focusing on how do we fill the gaps of inequalities, of division, of polarization, and how we deploy social and human sciences to deliver better for people. And we are also at a very important moment, and I feel this forum will be super useful, because in September, at the United Nations, we're going to have the Summit of the Future. And this is going to deliver very important reflections on how can we change gears and deliver for the SDGs. And core to the discussion of well-being, as I said, is how do we define progress? And I have to say that because of the economic dynamics, because of how we go for GDP and GDP per capita, this tool that was supposed to be a mean to an end became an end in itself. And this mean then distorted the view, because we go for averages, because we go for per capita, because we go for material well-being, and we then extrapolate material well-being as just a proxy for measuring anything that people care about. And it's time that we took the GDP back to where it belongs. It's a tool to measure material well-being. It doesn't tell us what people want. It doesn't tell us what people need. It doesn't tell us what are the distributional impact of the economic decisions. It doesn't tell us what are the sustainability issues of these decisions. It doesn't tell us if the job is a quality job or not, if the environment that we have is livable or not, if we have solidarity or not, if we measure subjective well-being. All these dimensions that are so important for people to listen into what people cares about are just not reflected in GDP. And it is not to say that GDP is useless, because it's not. I think it serves a purpose, because it's comparable, because it's a statistical rigorous, because it tells us how much we produce and consume, but it does not capture what do we mean by progress. And as I said, this might also distort the view of where we need to go. And I will tell you those just two examples of the shortages that we have with GDP. The question of the distributional impact of the decisions we take. We can say, okay, countries are being growing, not very fast after the financial crisis, but 3% average, 2% global growth average. But some regions might be growing at 7%, and some others might not be growing at all. And therefore, we cannot think that this average measure can tell us what kind of policies we need to implement. We know, according to the UNDP, that there is a very strong fall in the Human Development Index, And for example, over 40% of the small island developing states are facing unsustainable debt levels, having paid 18 times more in debt service than what they receive in climate financing. So something must be wrong with these figures. On climate, we know that also there has not been enough progress in terms of delivering of the Paris Agreement. On migration, the fact that this is also having a very strong impact, and demographics is also impacting our society. So all these trends, the digital transformation that is bringing so many good outcomes, but at the same time is posing a lot of challenges. And my sector is also working on the ethics of artificial intelligence, because we see that all these trends, climate, demographics, digital, are putting a lot of pressure in our societies. And if we do not frame them well, thinking of how do they can contribute or not to the well-being of people, what is happening is that they are opening new gaps and inequalities that are becoming unsustainable. And therefore, this is another reason why we need to rethink the kind of tools we use to advance our policies. And let me just say, on the climate perspective, we all think, well, we have the goals, we have the need to wire from fossil fuels, we need to invest in clean energy, we need to deliver on renewables. And when you look at the details, when you have subsidies for clean energy, for buildings, for cars, for transport, who wins in our societies? The wealthiest. If you put a tax on carbon or on gasoline, who is the more impacted? So all these issues, I think, are so important for the discussion on well-being, and therefore it's very important that we are having these elements here. And then there is another issue. The economic rationale has always been that governments must intervene when there are market failures. And I think this is a narrative that we have been hearing for many years that goes pretty much in line with maximizing profits and delivering for material well-being. The problem is that governments have a very important role to play in providing with those enabler environments, in the investments, the incentives, the legal frameworks. And this is also something that we are looking at into the artificial intelligence, because we need to ensure that the impact and the benefits are better distributed among our societies. And then let me just go to three final comments that I think are important that we consider. When we look at the concept of well-being in all of its dimensions, as I said, it can go for quality jobs, it can go for the environmental impact, it can go for security. No? People like to live in countries where the security is important. There are considerations that pertain to specific groups in our societies that require very strong support. It was also mentioned by the minister, the question of the younger populations, the mental well-being. How do you capture that? How do we connect with them in terms of really providing with the solutions that they need? We are concerned at UNESCO, we're also dealing with the young populations, looking not only at the declared deterioration of their mental well-being, but also the surveys that show us that younger cohorts of young men are less progressive, that younger generations participate less in democratic processes, and that has less trust in institutions. And therefore, I think there we need to have very, very concrete policies to target this group age that can deliver better for them. And the other point, and I want to give a shout out here to Cherto Gil, with whom we work on the Ramos Foundation, and also with the St. Trinity University, because we are also looking at the question of racism and discrimination. And I think this is one of the issues when you tell people how do they feel connected with their societies, how they feel part, cherished, or included in the decision-making. If there is racism and if there is discrimination, this does not happen. And therefore, maybe this is a topic that is not very visible when we talk about well-being frameworks, but the reality is that, and surveys show it, people that are discriminated because of race, because of gender, because of origins, because of wherever they come, report way lower levels of well-being. And therefore, these are the kind of issues that we should be looking into to deliver for people. So the whole consideration here on how do we ensure that we listen to people? How do we ensure that we make this conversation of the well-being economy a way to connect better to the feelings, to the hopes, to the thoughts, to the perspectives of people? And I feel this is as simple as that. As simple and as difficult as that. Because we need more granularity, because we need to connect, we need to co-create, we need to reach out, and actually we need to reach out to those that are really far away in marginalized communities, because well-being will never happen if it doesn't happen for those that are really at the bottom of the income distribution. And for me, well-being is completely close to the agenda for inclusive growth, meaning, as you said, Minister, fantastic comment, if you address gender inequalities, if you address poverty, if you address despair, for those groups that are really at the lowest end of our income frameworks, then you will be addressing way more than those specific problems, but the societal issues that we are all confronting. So I hope that with these frameworks, with this mindset, with this leadership of the countries that are looking into these issues, we will be able to build better solutions, because at the end, as I said at the beginning, it's not an academic exercise. We need to change. We need to change the tools, we need to change the metrics, and we need to deliver better for people. So count on UNESCO. We're very happy to be here with you, and we're looking forward to learning from the discussions, but also to coming back with more solid responses to the people that are out there looking for more support and for better responses going forward. So thank you so much, and glad to be with you.